All right, I got Pastor Robin Wright of the Church of Christ. If you just step up, and he's going to lead us in a prayer this morning.
Would you pray with me, please? Our Heavenly Father, we are grateful for this beautiful day you have blessed us with, for the ability to be here. We're grateful for this great country we live in, and we are thankful for the blessings, the opportunities, the freedoms that are ours. And Father, help us all to stand for that which is good and right and uphold our country. Father, we pray for this specific gathering this morning, that you would be with each one of the commissioners, that you would bless them with wisdom, with open minds and kind hearts. And Father, that they, along with all elected officials, would seek your wisdom in all decisions they make, that they would strive to bring glory to your name. And Father, help all of those officials to understand that they are in these positions because of you, and one day they will have to answer to you. We pray your blessings again on this gathering and on our country. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, sir. All right, roll call.
Commissioner Cheney,
Here.
Commissioner Casterline,
Here.
Commissioner Russo. Here. Commissioner Dupnick,
Here.
Judge Garza.
Here, we got a quorum. At this time, we have, we're going to listen to citizens to be heard, and we have one, Mr. Mace.
Good morning, Judge Garza, County
Morning.
Commissioners, and esteemed members of the public. For the record, my name is Dr. Christopher Mace. I work for Texas Parks and Wildlife, and I'm here to speak very briefly or answer questions regarding agenda item number 11, I believe, which is discuss, approve, or disapprove releasing and returning the $1 million of the Federal Fisheries Disaster Assistance Grant funds back to Texas Parks and Wildlife.
Dr. Mace, do you want to wait till that agenda item comes up?
Yes, sir. That'd
Okay,
be fine.
you can see, and we'll have you back up here. Thank you. All right, now we got a presentation to introduce Patrick Cruz, the Marine Agent for Aransas County by the Texas A&M AgriLife Extension Service. And 15 minutes.
I won't take that long.
All right.
All right. Judge and Commissioners of the court, I want to thank you all for having the opportunity to be here. My name is Donnie Montemayor. I'm the District Extension Administrator for the Texas A&M AgriLife Extension Service for county programs in this part of Texas. And what I want to do is bring to you our candidate. We go ahead and visit with you, I believe, beginning of the month, but I'd like to formally introduce Mr. Patrick Cruz. Patrick Cruz is our new Marine agent for Aransas County. If some of y'all might remember, some of y'all may not, about a little more than 20 years ago, we did actually have a county extension agent, Marine agent here in Aransas County. And we appreciate y'all's investment. Along with Texas Sea Grant and the Texas A&M AgriLife Extension Service to bring a marine science educator to Aransas County. In my district, I have three. I have one in Aransas County, one in Calhoun County, and one in Matagorda County. And these agents work very closely with citizens in the county and, of course, yourselves in providing outreach education in coastal marine resources. He's been very connected with Texas Sea Grant, which is also part of a federal program as well to provide outreach education and also to assist the County Commissioners Court with any situations that may need as an advisor in terms of coastal marine resource issues, as y'all may know. I would like to go ahead and open if y'all have any questions for him. I'd also like to entertain a formal vote, I believe, that the court needs to record. That wasn't recorded last time, and his acceptance as a new role here. He's also attended new employee orientation in College Station a couple of weeks ago for a whole week, and he was up there and we got him trained and a little bit about his background, and he can probably allude to that if y'all have questions. But he's actually a 30-year veteran of Texas Health and Texas Department of Health Services. He has been associated with the oyster industry and also the seafood industry within this area as well. And I've had a very good success in hiring individuals from that line of work. We want to go ahead and see if you have any questions for Patrick.
I believe the questions will hold off till item number 23 when we actually discuss and approve. Discuss to approve,
Okay.
unless y'all have a question.
Not now.
Yep,
Okay. Thank you. So we're gonna have to wait till 23?
item number, yes,
Okay, thank you.
thank you. Item number 6, consent agenda. We've got items here that include a donation of $100 to the Aransas County Library from Jane S. Rose. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I second it.
Any discussion? All right,
Oh, good question.
roll-
Commissioner Cheney,
Aye.
Commissioner Casterline.
Aye.
Commissioner Russo,
Aye.
Commissioner Dupnick,
Aye.
Judge Garza.
Aye, unanimous. Item number 6, discuss, approve, or disapprove the fourth quarter 2002 Aransas County Historic Commission report.
I move that we approve this fourth quarter report from the Aransas County Historical Commission.
Second.
The only thing of note I'd make on it that y'all might notice is that we spent probably we're over budget on education outreach, and we didn't spend our budget on historical markers.
Sir, you need to
Oh.
talk to the microphone and tell us who you are and what you're here for.
All right. Dave Hatman, Treasurer of the Aransas County Historic Commission. Yes, sir. Like I said, we're over budget on the education outreach. Probably need to increase that line in the next budget. And we didn't spend our full budget on historical markers, so. Any other questions?
Well, I did note that you were at 175% of what you budgeted for training. And I thought that was an extreme overage. And what is the rationale for that?
Commissioner Russo, that was primarily for training for collections at 15 hours, $15 an hour.
For the collections, like to itemize
Archives.
what we have in our collection?
Yes.
To input it into the software program, or?
Well, actually, it's more of a contribution to the History Center for their collections.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
Y'all do a great job. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Commissioner Cheney,
All right.
Commissioner Casterline.
Aye.
Commissioner Russo,
Aye.
Commissioner Dupnick,
Aye.
Judge Garza.
Aye, unanimous. Item number 7,
I move to approve the 2023 appointees to and the officers of the Aransas County Historical Commission, with each appointee and officer serving a 2-year term.
Second.
Do you want to introduce them?
yes.
Thank you. Judge, Commissioners, I want to introduce you to our new chair of the Aransas County Historical Commission. Her name is Doreen Bronner, and we're very happy to have her, and along with other appointees that are here. Want to say a few words?
Good morning. I'm very
Morning.
pleased to be here. I'm Doreen Bronner. I'm very new to this area. I just moved here about 2 years ago, built a house over in the Lamar area. When Betty told me or asked me if I had a love of history, because we were talking, And I said yes, and she asked me to be on the commission. I never thought she would rope me into being the chairperson right out of the gate, but I'm very excited to serve. And like I said, I did 34 years in the Air Force, so I'm very happy to serve again in a community. And if I could ask all of our members to stand up and be recognized, please. Because I am new, I know most of your names, but some of them I don't. So if you can introduce yourself, I know you know Dave and Betty Hatman.
Laura Fox.
Jerry Rendrick. I'm not here, I'm coming off. I want to say very good again.
If you have any questions for me, I might not be able to answer them, but Betty, I'll be training with Betty too.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Mhm.
Any questions?
No.
All right.
Commissioner Cheney,
Aye.
Commissioner Casterline,
Aye.
Commissioner Russo,
Aye.
Commissioner Dupnick,
Aye.
Judge Garza.
Aye. Unanimous. Number 8.
Move to approve the fourth quarter 2022 Rockport Center of the Arts report.
I'll second that.
Are we gonna put that up there, Colin? Great. Good morning, Judge Garza, Commissioners. My name is Luis Puron, Rockport Center for the Arts. And this is the fourth quarter report covering October through December of last year. This all our activities and marketing expenditures. It says here we had 2 grand openings in one quarter. We inaugurated Rockport Conference Center, which we call the Rock, on November the 10th, 2023. A total of 4 events were hosted during that quarter, including the film festival, which greeted 1,200 visitors. And then on December the 10th, many of you are there or probably in those photos, what we inaugurated the actual Rockport Center for the Arts building, which houses visual arts, art education, and our administration offices. On December the 10th, the ribbon cutting and grand opening was hosted over about 700 people in both buildings. We had an event with public officials at the conference center that had about 204 people, and then the ribbon cutting and then the actual opening of the facility at over 500 people. So our visual arts programming, as you know, we were closed. We really did not have a showroom October and November, and we didn't open our showroom back up until December the 10th. But on December the 10th, we opened 2 shows, The Big Wave, standing out as you see there, and then a smaller show called Miniatures in the Members Gallery. And those shows were up until last week. We started to host workshops by nationally renowned artists or artists that are renowned in the state of Texas. For example, this is just one of them, Kathy Adams Clark, and our photographer from Houston, Texas. And you see there some of the impact in visitation. We had huge representation from Houston, Texas, even as far as Cincinnati, Ohio. And then people that were students, 18% of the people in that workshop in particular were staying, 82% of the people in the workshop were staying in area lodging facilities. So we received some training from the Texans for the Arts, Ann Graham, who's coming to see us in February 26th. And they said, these are the questions that tourism facilities like the Rockport Center for the Arts need to ask. One is, what is your zip code? The second one is, are you staying in an area facility? And so we have been very cognizant of that training. And for every activity that we do, we are now asking those 2 questions. Then we've spent about $4,000 in advertising in international publications, such as Plein Air Magazine, Southwest Art Magazine, American Watercolor Newsletter, Realism Today, Pastel Today, and Artists Network. And this is to attract the kind of tourism that I just spoke about in the slide prior, to bring in people from different parts of the United States. Our fall signature event was the 16th annual Rockport Film Festival, hosted over the course of 4 days from November 10th through 13th. We had 1,244 visitors, and it was the inaugural event for the conference center. We had out of that 1,244 visitors, 28% more than 2021 attendance,
and within 25% of our best year attendance, which was 2016. 35% of that 1,244 came from 70 miles outside of Rockport. And you see the distribution there on the pie chart. You see 10% from Corpus Christi, 15 from Austin, San Antonio, the Hill Country, Houston 5%, Dallas, Fort Worth 3%, out of state 8%, Rio Grande Valley 2%, Victoria 2%, and rural South Texas 3%. And that is the kind of data that you can expect us collecting more. We have synthesized all of this electronically so that it's captured and it can generate this kind of information for the county. 34% of non-local attendees stayed overnight, and 68% of those stayed in hotels and motels. And that's the redux here of these two pie charts. You know, one of the things that our film festival is about, and I've been very involved in fundraising for the film festival, is the education component. And so we raise funds to bring in filmmakers, and then those filmmakers go to the high school to impart workshops, and they actually create a deliverable, a film that is screened on Sunday at the film festival. Over a dozen students participated, and they become, junior filmmakers. This year, we have increased funding, about $20,000 dedicated for this program over the course of the next few years. And so we plan to expand that and bring filmmakers that have state or national recognition. Our other signature event is the Silver Meltdown. It's a style event. It was the 5th annual, also hosted at The Rock, and it had 128 visitors, albeit mostly local women. The conference center was rented once during the quarter. We opened on November the 10th. Just keep that in mind. We had 132 visitors. For some reason, the pie charts are not showing there. I don't know why. But yeah, let me see if I can get to that on my iPad here. Yes, so there's 2 maps missing there. We had 132 visitors for a private event held for Morgan Stanley. We had visitors from Texas, Illinois, and Arizona, and then from throughout the state of Texas, including the Coastal Bend. I'm sorry that those did not show. Another new report we're doing is an e-commerce report, because we do a lot of transactions, online through our website. And so we had in the fourth quarter 609 transactions, totaling $6,300. But one of the things that this e-commerce does is it captures zip code data, and that's kind of what I want to show you. You see there the distribution of what we were selling: tickets, memberships, workshops, gallery sales, and of course donations. And you could see in these maps where all of these transactions were happening, all over the state of Texas and all over the country, as far east as New York and as far west as Oregon.
And Hungary.
I'm sorry?
You say it. And Hungary is on there too.
Yeah, in Hungary. I'm sorry I missed that. I don't know. That was a one-off. Tourism visitation record. So this is just the visitation, people walking in the door to the art center to take a class, to look at an exhibit, or to have a meeting. In October, 947 people. In November, 684. In December, keep in mind that we were only really open, for like 21 days, and we have 3 holidays in between there. We had almost 1,700 visitors, 3,300 total for the entire quarter. And then you see there the visitation from the desired markets beyond 75 miles. And here are the maps that tell you the whole story. You see that we had visitors from all over the country on the left. And then you have all the visitors from the state of Texas, counties very far away from here. And then we had visitors from Hungary, Mexico, and Sweden. How do we spend the money that the county allocated for tourism, advertising, and to promote the hotel convention industry? $6,400 in advertising. We had budgeted $6,000 there. In the Sculpture Garden, $3,300, and we had budgeted about the same. For the Art Festival, $5,600, and we had budgeted $6,000. And exhibitions, we budgeted 4,000 and we spent $16,000. The reason why is the story is down below. The allocation made in the budget workshop was 19,300. But, because of the 4% we receive in HOT taxes and collections were so much higher, we actually received $31,414.16. Can I answer any questions, commissioners, judge?
Just an observation. I've been in both of those facilities and they are stupendous. And that we have them here in Rockport is just totally a credit to you and to your board who helped you get that building.
Well, the county helped as well through our Aransas County Long-Term Recovery, and we are forever grateful for your investment. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you.
Aye.
Commissioner Casterline.
Aye.
Commissioner Russo.
Aye.
Commissioner Dupnick.
Aye.
Judge Garza.
Aye, unanimous. Item number 9.
Move to approve appointing Jerry Brown and Catherine Hayes for a 4-year term to the Airport Advisory Board. They will be joining Travis McDavid, Chair, Betty Stiles as Vice Chair, and Jim Rester.
I'll second that.
If y'all would both come up, introduce yourselves so we know who we're voting on.
Morning, Your Honor,
Morning.
Commissioners. I'm Jerry Brown, and this is Kath Hayes.
Morning.
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 All right.
Returning home to Texas after almost 30 years away.
Well, welcome back.
Do you want to tell us just a
Yeah.
small amount about your interest in the Airport Advisory Board?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Short.
Very good. Been here with an airplane for about 6 years now. And we have a lot to do at the airport. I'm going to work with Mike to make that happen and the board. And that's what we're going to do is bring people here and provide the revenue necessary to run the airport.
And I believe you were involved in the fly-in, were you not?
Yes, ma'am, up to my ears.
Okay.
I can attest that he had plenty of no sleep.
That's right.
I am a 28-year Air Force spouse. My husband's right here, Terry. He's got a plane out there and that's how we met. I spent 22 years in media and the last 8 years, I'm a concert promoter and a talent agent. So I'm here to do the marketing and that kind of thing for the airport.
All right.
Great.
Thank you.
When you see our briefing, the one that The Rock just gave, you're going to love it.
Any questions, John?
Thank you.
Nope. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Cheney.
Aye.
Commissioner Casterline.
Aye.
Commissioner Russo.
Aye.
Commissioner Dupnick.
Aye.
Judge Garza.
Aye, unanimous. Item number 10.
I move to discuss the status of the Rattlesnake Road Point project funded through a community development block grant. Disaster recovery, which is CDBG-DR that is administered through the Texas General Land Office, GLO, and included in the GLO contract number 20-065-098-C270.
I'll second that.
Colin.
So Rattlesnake Point Road is the next project up for construction. Y'all already approved the contractor. We had a pre-construction meeting last week that went really well. And they'll receive their notice to proceed next Monday, week from today. I wanted to talk a little bit about this project because it is going to cause a lot of delays for people that are living out there. As you know, Rattlesnake Point Road has become a very heavily traveled road in the last few years. And The project begins at Copano Cove Road, comes around the big curve and then ties back in to 1781. This is about 2.3 miles long. The project will take about a year to complete. What we're actually building there, this is a typical section that shows the cross section of what the new road will look like. We'll have 8 inches of cement stabilized subgrade, 10 inches of compacted limestone base, and 3 inches of hot mix. The driving lanes will be 2 11-foot lanes. There will also be a 12-inch concrete ribbon curb on either side of the lanes, and then an additional 1-foot earth shoulder. So this is a improvement from what's out there. It may not be what's needed for the traffic it has now, but it's what we have room for. And it's what we have the money for. So this will be a nicer road. It will be a heavier road, stand up to traffic better. And, you know, long term, we may need to look at widen this at some point too, make it a 4-lane. But as of now, we don't have the right of way to do that. Okay. One of the first things we did with the project was look at the drainage that's out there. This is a drainage of where the flows are going. We worked with the developer of the manufactured home project at the corner there, and tying our drainage into them. It should work really well. One of the big things that is going to change is the big curve. It is going to become a 4-way stop instead of the curve, and it's generally going to we'll have plenty of traffic control. We'll have new signage. The road will have center line striping, edge lane striping, stop signs, speed limit signs.
What is the speed limit out there, David?
45.
It is?
Yes. I know it seems like it's more like 65 sometimes, but it's 45.
I was thinking it should be 30.
It probably should be.
On your map, the previous slide, you showed 2 different speed limits.
Well, the main part of Rattlesnake is 45, the long stretch between the curve, then it goes down to 35. There'll be various
Just to follow up on that, is that something that we need to look at before this is over, is maybe reducing the 45 to 35? Because that's awfully dangerous.
Yes, we could look at that. The problem is we have a really long straight section of road, and we can put a 30-mile-an-hour speed limit on it. But it's going to be hard to get people to stay at 30 miles. Now, if we want to ramp up the sheriff's department and give more tickets out there, but it's worth looking at. Absolutely.
There's a lot of side traffic on that long stretch of road.
There is. This is probably one of, if not the most traveled road that the county has. 1781 might be the exception, but there's a lot of traffic on it. During construction, there'll be various detours. This is one of the detour sheets. They'll be changing. There's probably 3 different detours, depending on what phase of construction we're in. I intend to get these maps to the newspaper and let them know when these detours will be implemented. Put something on the county website as well. And it's going to be uncomfortable for a lot of people, but we will make it as smooth as possible.
And David,
Sure.
Those temporary signs that we have that we can, computer change for warning, kind of like text dot and the city use? Will we
We-
have those there?
We had talked about that and we certainly can use that if we need to. Wouldn't be a bad idea. The traffic will be, traffic control will be set up XDOT standards similar to this one. So it should be well signed and there'll be flaggers periodically and as long as everybody knows what's going on, and they will, because we'll be out there quite a while, it should go fairly smoothly.
Are we gonna have anything like rumble strips on the side? Because, you get out there on a foggy night or
Yeah.
early in the morning or whenever it's the sun setting. I mean, it's tough to drive that road.
Right. We are not planning on having rumble strips. That's not in the contract. I know TxDOT had come back and they have some machine that was able to do that. And if need be, we could look at that. This will be a better road than what we had, a little wider, not a lot wider, and striping. So it should be a little safer for it, but we could certainly look into rumble strips if there's still an issue. And that's really basically it. I just wanted everybody to know that it's coming soon. It's gonna be uncomfortable for everybody, me mostly, but any questions?
Thank you for bringing this.
Sure.
All right, thank you, David.
Commissioner Cheney,
Aye.
Commissioner Casterline,
Aye.
Commissioner Russo,
I'm not sure if we have an action item to,
Right,
Yeah,
an action
just
item,
discuss.
just
it's
discuss.
just discuss.
sorry.
Oh,
That's okay.
All right, item number 11.
I move to approve releasing and returning $1 million of federal fisheries disaster assistance grant funding back to the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department that were intended for the Cedar Bayou dredging project, as the funds are no longer needed for the project.
I'll second that.
Okay, back in 2017, 2018, when we were planning the Cedar Bayou and we were putting together our funding, we approached Texas Parks and Wildlife and said, we're assembling this thing. Would you be interested in contributing towards it? And gracefully, they contributed $1 million grant that they had. And we've held that now through the duration of the project. I consulted with Jackie on this, and we are comfortable that we don't need the money. So I thank you very much, Chris, for the offer, and we'd like to give the money back to them so they can apply the money towards other projects. Mainly, I think, Oyster Reefs. And I'm going to yield unless you guys, anybody has any questions, I'm going to yield the mic to Chris.
Good morning again. My name is Christopher Mace for the record, and I am here just to answer questions if you need any further information regarding this proposal. This interagency contract is CA 0001186. It had an original termination date of October 31st, 2021. That was amended to include a 15-day get the equipment out thing, I think, originally. We have internally, Texas Parks and Wildlife has been able to extend it because we had it built in with the original fisheries grant. I think that expires this year in May of 2023. What we need is some direction from y'all to put language in and request another extension to push this through May of 2024 so that we can use this money in Aransas County. We are proposing to use this money to restore Oyster Reef in Aransas County.
So would that be a separate motion, or should we just discuss this today since it's on the agenda, vote on it, and then he can come back with another?
Well, Commissioner, the way that the agenda item was written, it was only for the Commissioners Court today to decide whether to release those funds back to Texas Parks and Wildlife. There wasn't anything in the item about changing a date or extending a date. So unfortunately, you can't take action on that today, but we could come back at our next meeting and take action to request that extension if necessary.
Should we table this in the meantime?
I don't think that you have to, unless you'd like to, and Dr. Mace may have a different opinion on what makes the most sense, but I'm not completely sure what the contracts look like here. I haven't seen them, so I can't say that it makes a big difference whether you do them together or separately.
I think that we should go ahead and release it and let's Parks and Wildlife start. They have a definite time that they can start working on switching the money to other projects.
And bring that back to us if we need to. But
Sure.
I mean, we certainly would support the idea of oyster reefs.
I was just concerned about if we release it, the money might end up shifting to some other
Mhm.
county in the meantime.
It's not intended to move out of the county. Our intention has always been to keep it in Aransas County, and that's my goal with this. And that's the timeline, though, is fairly firm with the federal fisheries disaster grant. That's why I'm here today requesting we get a direction from you, whether you're going to hold it or release it so that we can ask for the extension. That's the purpose of
Okay.
today.
Sounds good. Thank you.
I'd hate to hold it and not have something specifically in mind that the court has agreed to. Call the question.
All right.
Commissioner Cheney,
Aye.
Commissioner Casterline,
Aye.
Commissioner Russo,
Aye.
Commissioner Dudnick,
Aye.
Judge Garza.
Aye, unanimous. Item number 12.
Move to approve change order number 1, change order number 2, and change order number 3 to the construction contract for Aransas County Downtown Anchor Project Courthouse construction between Aransas County and Teal Construction Company dated February the 28th, 2022 to $232,557.25, which will result in a decrease on the total contract costs from $23,650,000 to $23,382,442.75.
Second.
All right, we got a motion. We got a second.
Any questions?
I have some questions, John. On the first page, which I think was the email from Mark Williams with Broadus.
Go ahead. Mark's here.
Oh, all right. Hello. There were documents referred to that say attached is the document value engineering reductions and contractors change proposal request number 1. I'm not sure I saw those. Were they included?
Yes, it's in this.
Was that what you had on the second page?
No, ma'am. This is in the stack of documents that was
Judge's office.
given
Yeah.
to the judge.
Okay, but
It's
all right.
within that document.
All right, then, on that same page under change order number 2, does he have this document that we have? Okay.
They're also in that stack.
All
of
right,
documents.
so the second paragraph there, change proposal request 3 is for reducing the depth of the auger cast piles from 70 feet to 50 feet. My question is, what will be the impact on the structure's foundation if we eliminate the 20 feet,
Well, it's a good question. We had engineering data
right?
at test piles done. While we were constructing those test piles, it was determined we had an achievable bearing pressure at 50 feet rather than going to 70 feet. So we were able to achieve the same pressures that we wanted at 70 feet, at 50 feet, and it allowed us to retain quite a bit of money for this county.
But it won't compromise the structural integrity.
Absolutely not.
Okay, thank you. Then on the second page, there were several things. Change proposal request 15, add backflow preventers. The cost on that is over $28,000. Was it lost somewhere in the initial drawings or scope of work that the city requires backflow protectors?
Right, the city does require backflow
Right.
preventers. They were absolutely required to protect city water system, and they were left out of the drawing. So the contractor indicated that to add those backflow preventers to both the sprinkling system and the potable water system, it required 2 different backflow preventers at
I was just curious that they were left out in the first place.
Yes, they were.
I mean, it just seems something significant to leave out. Under change proposal request 18, the plumbing fixture submittals. Add the floor drain holding cells ligature resistant, 14,000. A coffee bar for 25,500. A coffee bar, I mean, is that a necessity in the jail?
That was an item added late
It was a late
in the
add.
project, and it was on the architectural drawings, and I believe it was missing on the plumbing drawings and the electrical drawings. Therefore, the contractor requested additional funds to provide that document, that item.
And then the final item there, proposal request 28 on the framing issues. There is a condition where there's a conflict between the structural and architectural plans on how the studs line up with each other.
Right, we had on the first floor, the slab is out, I believe, about 8 inches further than the second floor. So in order to get that stud to tie into the second floor, the slab on the second floor had to be extended out to receive those studs coming up. And that we achieved that with I think a ledge angle is the way we did that.
So the net impact, as I looked through this, I think is about $92,000 or $93,000 just on those few things that I talked about.
That's right. It included items 13, 14, 15, 16, 18, and 28, which are, by the way, CPRs, which are called change proposal requests by the contractor.
Right.
So actually, there's a lot of stuff in there, but yes, you're right. That is 92,000.
Almost 93.
Right.
And you work for Broadus?
I did.
Thank you.
Any more questions?
No more questions. Appreciate it.
Commissioner Cheney,
Aye.
Commissioner Casterline,
Aye.
Commissioner Russo,
Aye.
Commissioner Dupnick,
Aye.
Judge Garza.
Aye. I'm number 13.
I move to discuss, approve, or disapprove accepting a grant award from the Texas Department of Emergency Management, TDEM, for a hazard mitigation grant program, HMGP Disaster Recovery DR 4332 0202 sub-grant award in the amount of $63,801 to engineer and install a generator for emergency backup power at Aransas County Road and Bridge located at 1931 FM 2165 in Rockport, Texas, and authorizing the county judge to sign awards.
I second that.
Does the motion need to be positive or negative?
Need to.
Said approve or disapprove.
Okay.
It does.
We'll approve.
I can tell you that. Let's change first sentence. I move to discuss, approve, or disapprove accepting a grant award.
Just
I'm asking if you don't need to make it one way or the other, approve or disapprove.
Commissioner, would you like to make it a motion to approve?
Yes.
Can we show the record or amend his motion to be a motion to approve?
I'll second the amendment.
All right, John.
Okay, back in 2018, I'll be short with this. We applied as part of our hazard mitigation as a FEMA 404 program. We applied for 13 projects which were going to essential facilities. And after about 6 months to a year, they turned all 13 down. And then in 2021, Tatum came back. I'm sorry, I'm going to go back. Tatum turned them down. 2021, Tatum came back to us and said, we have some money. Do you want to get some of your generator projects going? So they selected 8 of the 13 projects.
to move forward in their process. So out of the 8, 5 of them, they wrote award letters for. Of the 5 right now, only 2 of them are within the range or within the original grant ratios of federal funds versus county funds, 75-25. The other 3 are so whacked out that they're in the 35% federal, 65% local, which would mean that the county would be in for a couple $100,000 on each of these generators, or $100,000 to a couple $100,000. So I have these 2 projects are 75-25. They're reasonable. I'm asking you to move forward with these. One is for this one in particular is for Roads and Bridges office. It'll run the office, their shop, and the pumps, correct? Okay, so it'll run all of that. So in an emergency, we have a generator now to run that facility, fuel, repairs, and the office.
So that's the fleet maintenance area too? Is that what you're talking about? Okay, good.
So in this grant, it's a $63,801 grant. In this grant, the match, the local match of 25% is reduced down to $3,987.58 because of Senate Bill 7. So that makes this a really palatable, really easy, reasonable grant for the Roads and Bridge office. So I am asking you to prove it.
I'm glad to see that we're getting some of those generators. My only suggestion, and I'm sure we have made it in the past, is that Tatum's office is still showing Leslie Kirk as the chief auditor.
Yeah, we've corrected some of the paperwork as it's coming through.
Okay.
John, would you point out to the public what Senate Bill 7 did?
What Senate Bill 7 provided to the local facility, the local jurisdictions that were damaged by Harvey, was that in the local match, whether it be a FEMA match, a Tatum match, or in a local matches, Senate Bill 7 pays 75% of the local match. So in our case, this is a 25%. They'll pay 75% of the 25%.
Thank you. Thank you.
And after all is said and done, the county's requirement to pay is $3,987.
Yep.
And 56 cents.
Right.
So what size generator is this going to be?
This will be for the Roads and Bridge office. I'm not sure what size. I have to go back and look.
That's all right.
Call to question.
Commissioner Cheney,
Aye.
Commissioner Casterline,
Aye.
Commissioner Russo,
Aye.
Commissioner Dupnick,
Aye.
Judge Garza.
Aye. Unanimous. Item number 14.
I move to approve task order ID 4 for the Grant Works Grant Administration Contract for services related to the post-hazard mitigation grant program for the Little Bay Drainage Project, which work is funded by a grant received from the Federal Emergency Management Agency 404 Hazard Mitigation Grant Program that is administered by the Texas Department of Emergency Management.
Second.
John, could you just provide a brief overview of this project?
This is another 404 program, administered by Tatum, Little Bay. This particular task order has to do with, GrantWorks is currently updating their records and found out that we haven't signed the task order. The original task order for this project expired a year ago. And so they're trying to update the records on this.
So this is no cost.
No extra. The funds are anyway paid out of the grant.
So we don't really have any active Little Bay project.
We do have an active Little Bay project. It's been in FEMA for well over a year. Over a year now. And it's a reduced project. It started off in the $13 million range because of, this might get into the weeds for everybody, but there's a thing called a benefit cost analysis, and because the benefit cost analysis didn't add up to what we needed it to add up to, it's a $5 million project right now.
So this is one of the ones that's being
Held.
held along with the Shell Ridge.
Shell Ridge and Lamar Beach.
Okay, thank you.
They're sitting over there dying a slow death.
We're going to revitalize.
I
it.
know we are. We're working at it.
All right, any other questions? Call to order.
Commissioner Cheney,
Aye.
Commissioner Casterline,
Aye.
Commissioner Russo,
Aye.
Commissioner Dupnick,
Aye.
Judge Garza.
Aye, unanimous. Item number 15.
I move to approve task order ID 5 for the Grant Works Grant Administration Contract for services related to the Post-Hazard Mitigation Grant Program for the Aransas County Airport Field Lighting Generator Project, which work is funded by a grant received from the Federal Emergency Management Agency 404 Hazard Mitigation Grant Program that is administered by the Texas Department of Emergency Management.
I'll second that.
Okay.
All right, tell us about this one.
This is the current task order for that particular, for the airport generator light, field lights generator was approved in a previous court. This is a task order to move forward with this project. We have an engineering firm has been awarded or has been selected. And so this is getting their task order, getting a grant administration in place. We had one for the up to this point.
Any questions?
Is this generator just going to be servicing the lights?
Yeah. Mhm. They currently have a, Mike, correct me if I'm wrong. They have a generator that works. It's good, in good shape. I think it's been replaced.
For the terminal?
For the terminal.
Commissioner Cheney,
Aye.
Commissioner Casterline.
Aye.
Commissioner Russo,
Aye.
Aye.
Judge Garza.
Aye, unanimous. Item number 16.
Move to approve task order ID 10 for the Grant Works Grant Administration Contract for services related to post-RV mitigation grant program for the Aransas County Road and Bridge Generator Project, which work is funded by a grant received from the Federal Emergency Management Agency 404 Hazard Mitigation Grant Program that is administered by the Texas Department of Emergency Management.
I'll second that.
It's the same thing. It's there where the grant is, we're approving, we're awarding the grant. This is the grant of management fees.
I had a question. I think you answered, but I would like to write it down now. I have it on
Sure.
this page. You said those other three are in a different funding phase. Was it 35 federal, 70,
What they did was,
65?
because these projects have taken so long, the cost of the projects have gone way up over the initial amount, the amount that was set aside for these grants. And so right now we're looking at them as they're coming there. The three award letters came back to us, but our normal local match would be 25%. And these three awards, they're between 63 and 65% for the local. So in other words, the state and the feds are looking for us to spend most of the money on these projects.
Okay, thank you, John.
Any other questions?
Commissioner Cheney,
Aye.
Commissioner Casterline,
Aye.
Commissioner Russo,
Aye.
Commissioner Dupnick,
Aye.
Judge Garza.
Aye, unanimous. Number 17.
I move to approve entering into a contract for professional engineering services between Aransas County, Texas and G&W Engineers for the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program Standby Generator Projects located at the Aransas County Airport, project number DR 4332-0197, and at Aransas County Road and Bridge, project number DR 4332-0202 for $54,800, which projects are funded by a grant received from the Federal Emergency Management Association Agency 404 Hazard Mitigation Grant Program that is administered by the Texas Department of Emergency Management.
Is this amount?
I'll second.
I'm sorry. Is this amount, before the Title VII?
Excuse me?
Is I'm sorry, is this grant, this figure here before we get the 75%, or is that?
No,
actually- This is our cost.
this is not our cost. This goes into the grant, correct, Jackie? I'm pretty sure this is paid through the grant.
Yes, all engineering is paid by the
Yeah,
grant.
so this is all paid in the grant. I just wanted to make sure.
John, I have a couple of questions on this contract.
Sure.
So on page 2, under scope of work, B,
I don't have his contract with me, but go ahead.
it says provide design and engineering services, bid phase support, construction phase services related to the selection and installation of 3 permanent generators located on 3 different county properties.
I
But we're
think
talking about
he was,
2.
that
Commissioner,
should have
that's
been
my,
modified. It should have been.
Commissioner, that's my error. We had 3 projects that we were originally going to present, and that was reduced to 2, and I did miss making the correction in that paragraph. If you look further down, you'll see the charts that tell you what payments are being made and for which projects, and they
Right.
are properly identified there, and that there are only 2.
But we'll change that to say 2 instead of 3. And then one other, on page 5, I believe in our item, we are approving 54,800, correct?
Yes.
I think that a different version of the contract was included in your packet. The contract with the correct amount of 54,800 was provided to Tracy, but it may have just not made it into your packet. So I apologize for that.
Okay, because the one I have, although it shows those 2 generators and they add up to 54,800, when it says compensation, it's written out $71,811. So I just wondered what was the $17,000 difference? But there's an updated version where the compensation is written out as 54,800. Okay, I'm good with that. Thank you.
Commissioner Cheney,
Aye.
Commissioner Casterline,
Aye.
Commissioner Russo,
Aye.
Commissioner Dupnick,
Aye.
Judge Garza.
Aye, unanimous.
I move to approve Justice of the Peace number 2, applying for a grant funding under the Juvenile Justice and Truancy Prevention Grant Program for a licensed professional counselor for families to help identify and assist in self-improvement programs.
I'll second that.
Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Lori.
Good morning.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about this?
Well, I'm the JCM, Laura Rios, Judge McGinnis is in court. We're trying to bring the services so we could have them here because we always have to refer out. And it's very hard on the families that we serve to go to Corpus or Portland. So we want to have it here so we'll be able to, bring the services to more because I handle the Class Cs, not just school cases. So it would be really good to be able to provide those services here because it's very needed with depression, anxiety among our juveniles and the families. So it would be really good, or when they go into residential treatment center, so when they're out, they'll be able to continue the aftercare to not have a repeat.
And this would pay for the professionals to come here and have sessions with the children.
Correct.
Okay. And I'm just curious because both items are for JP2. Does JP1 need it, or this would cover anybody?
Judge is right now we're trying to apply, so we're trying to see, what we can do to extend it to be able to serve the both courts.
Okay.
With the Aransas County juveniles and families, and hopefully, even adults to be able to provide the services, the tools from setting goals to, being successful after.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Commissioner Cheney,
Aye.
Commissioner Casterline,
Aye.
Commissioner Russo,
Aye.
Commissioner Dupnick,
Aye.
Judge Garza.
Aye, unanimous. Item number 19.
I move to approve Justice of the Peace 2, applying for grant funding under the Juvenile and Truancy Prevention Grant Program for a licensed chemical dependency counselor for alcohol and drug abuse family counseling.
I'll second that.
Can you tell us a little about this one? Same thing,
Same
different?
thing. One is more individual, like I said, setting goals, even teaching them how to financially, handle money, to the ones that are struggling with alcohol and drug abuse, to be able to give them the services, to not use as a coping skill, but actually have the correct tools to be successful.
I just want to say something on that. Having some issues going on in my personal family with issues like that, it's very difficult to have to go to Sinton or someplace else whenever everybody's working and everything, but the kids really need to work and they need the help. And there's a lot of kids we have. If you're not involved with anything that deals with what Lori deals with, you probably have no concept of the span and the scope of this project. This is a tremendous need. And JP1 and JP2 both have worked very diligently to find places for kids that are having problems or whatever it is. But I look around and I see people that they don't get anything done because they just can't
And
afford to go
sometimes,
to.
like,
campus
I get a lot of calls and, they're not aware that there could be services like the juveniles under my caseload, I can transport, but it becomes difficult because, like, when I bring outside agencies, and even if they do after school programs, like group counseling, it is difficult because I can only carry so many home. And Aransas County is so spread out with the RVs and everything, and I can't leave them. So hopefully this is one of the issues of just being me, is I can't leave some to go drop off some.
Right.
So it becomes difficult, but I do my best to try to take them to the counseling sessions once the parents get some going, and I can drop them off and pick them up and take them back to school. So
As you're
this is
saying,
one of the needs.
as you're
Anxiety,
saying,
I get
only
calls
you.
every single day.
That's right. This girl, I think it's part of this agenda item. Her workload is incredible. I mean, she is gone. If there was 28 hours in the day, I think she'd work another 9. It's just, this is something that's really needed. We move a lot into repair and replacement of issues and everything. This is our population and it needs some help.
Sure does. And we get a lot of them to cross the stage. Our success rate is very high, either whether it's GED or homeschool or just high school diploma duals. Some kids try GED and they go back and they make it. Last year we had 8 that crossed the stage that all said GED and they went back and they were successful. But this is referring them out, and it's just be easier if we could get it here. It'll just be a great tool for all the families.
Thank you. Any other comments? All right. Thank you.
Commissioner Cheney,
Aye.
Commissioner Casterline.
Aye.
Commissioner Russo,
Aye.
Commissioner Dupnick,
Aye.
Judge Garza.
Aye, unanimous. Item number 20.
Move to approve accepting and awarding bids for mosquito insecticide for 2023.
I'll second that.
Good morning. This is
morning.
our yearly bids. The only one I wanted to point out was the malathion. We are not going low bid because we don't have the ability to store bulk. Any other questions?
Any other questions? All right.
Commissioner Cheney,
Aye.
Commissioner Casterline.
Aye.
Commissioner Russo,
Aye.
Commissioner Dupnick,
Aye.
Judge Garza.
Aye, unanimous. Item number 21.
I move to approve authorizing the county treasurer to apply for, receive, and accept the 2023 distribution of proceeds from the Tobacco Settlement Fund from the Texas Department of State Health Services based on the county's unreimbursed healthcare expenditures for calendar year 2023. Morning, Alma.
Morning. We apply for this every year. The money can be used, it just goes back into the general fund, can be used for anything. Usually it's in the $20,000 range. I estimate the amount we should get this time is $27,600. Have any questions on it?
I didn't know we were getting this money before, but I
Oh, yeah.
looked in past budgets and I saw last year, I know we didn't get as much, but in 2020, we had a $29,000 distribution given to us. But you said it's just put in the general fund. We don't necessarily use it for healthcare related expenses?
And no, we could, my thoughts is always to generate some kind of a program that relates to the tobacco use, but we've never done that in the past.
Well, maybe you can share your thoughts
Okay,
at budget
Monday.
time. Sounds like a good idea.
If you're a second, if there wasn't one made, I'll make it.
I'll second it.
Commissioner Cheney,
Aye.
Commissioner Casterline,
Aye.
Commissioner Russo,
Aye.
Commissioner Dupnick,
Aye.
Judge Garza.
Aye, unanimous. Item number 22.
I move to approve entering into a contract labor agreement, second addendum with Randy Bingham, PA-C for inmate health care services at Aransas County Detention Center to establish that visits will occur at least 2 times per week and to increase the base pay from $2,000 to $3,000.
Second.
Is Sheriff Mills going to talk about this? Well, either he or Alma, so. So that 2,000 is per month and it's going to 3,000 per month. Are the
Correct.
number of visits that he's going to come per week increasing?
Yes, ma'am. He's going to double his visits to the jail.
Okay.
It's a correction to the original agreement when they got it written up. It was to have doubled. Didn't do it, went 2,000. It should have been to 3,000. It's $18,000 more than budget that we discussed. That was approved increase this year.
It's 18,000 more, is that what you said?
Yes, ma'am, on the year.
And then his base rate is also, well, he gets paid a per visit charge also, right?
Correct, I think. Yes.
In addition to the now 3,000.
And then we charge off, if the inmate has insurance, we will utilize that as well. Not too many of them come in with that.
I wouldn't think so.
Or don't stay for very long, no.
And if some percentage is paid through the healthcare sales tax.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you.
Commissioner Cheney,
Aye.
Commissioner Casterline,
Aye.
Commissioner Russo,
Aye.
Commissioner Dupnick,
Aye.
Judge Garza.
Aye. Unanimous. Item number 23.
I move to approve Pat Cruz for the Texas A&M AgriLife Extension Marine Agent for Aransas County.
I'll second that.
All right. Any questions?
Well, there was no pay rate given on this item and no job description.
Okay, there's a lot that I can tell you about, whatever, but if it wasn't on there as well, the way it worked out was back in, I guess, in the previous administration with the previous judge, worked with him to try to establish the new marine agent position. What we had asked from Texas Sea Grant, the AgriLife Extension Service asked Aransas County for support in establishing this position. We asked for 18,500, I believe. Correct me, right? Is that correct? 18,500 and $15,000 would go to his salary and the rest would go to his travel. The rest of the salary for Mr. Cruz is coming from the state of Texas through Texas Sea Grant and the Extension Service. Just like the other agents that you have in this county, all their salaries are different depending on their tenure and their education level as well. And I worked through that to establish those positions. And that's what was agreed upon and within the budget. So then forth, what I do is I go out and we actually advertise and we screen and interview applicants. And the kicker to this thing is that we usually would hire any time of the year. And most recently, we only hire 5 times a year. And on January the 9th was one of those times that we hired. We had settled on Mr. Cruz and he was trying to finish out his last appointment. So for the 9th, so that's when it was started on the 9th as well. And I couldn't be here during the middle of the holidays to introduce him at that time. Plus he was also trying to finish out his appointment. So what we're doing here today is we're coming to make sure that what I do is I bring you the most acceptable candidate. We had over probably, if I remember correctly, about 25 applicants for the position. I screened them all, worked through all the background and tried to find the most suitable candidate for the position. Mr. Cruz was decided upon that. Then what I do is I bring him to the court. Y'all approve of my selection for the position and we move forward with that. Usually this happens prior to the start. It just happened that it was quite cumbersome at the beginning, and this is where we're at now. With that, that's basically the story. I'm sticking to it.
All right. Thank you for that information.
Yes, ma'am.
And I understand that I know Commissioner Castellina said he had worked previously with Mr. Cruz
That is.
on a professional level. My question is, I've heard from the navigation district here in Aransas County, and they are, I don't know, confused or concerned about a repetition or a redundancy of services provided. So I'm curious what services Mr. Cruz will provide that are separate from, in addition to what the
Well, I'm not necessarily
nav
really,
district does.
I really don't know what the navigation district or what they're supposed to do, but I can surely speak for him because him being you, we're strictly outreach education. We're teachers, we're educators. We extend the research-based knowledge from the university, being Texas A&M University as a land grant university system. And we provide that outreach just like our agricultural agent and our family community health agent, and working with our 4-H group as well. So basically what we do is we provide them the emphasis for program planning, implementation and evaluation of those plans. And we work through that for strictly outreach education. We're not regulatory or anything like that. We're particularly just all strictly education. At the same time, with his background being in regulatory, he has a very high level skill set to be able to support individuals within the county for that. But if my understanding, there won't be any overlap at all. This is strictly an educational agent.
Okay, thank you. And I have maybe a question for
Sure.
Mr. Cruz.
Sure.
And then
Hello.
I'll cede to Commissioner Jupnik. We have recently instituted a maritime program in our high school. Are you familiar with that program?
A little bit. Primarily, my job was like Donnie said, was a regulatory job. But I've been working on the bays and the water for 30 plus years, all the way from Port Lavaca to South Padre Island. But the program, I'll learn about it.
Because I would think that that would be a very good place to start. Josh Nguyen is the gentleman who's over that program at the high school. And I think this is perhaps its first or second year in operation, and it's very popular. So I would certainly encourage you to see how you can benefit that program.
Last week, I recently received his business card, so he's on the list to visit and listen to him, see what he has to tell me.
Good,
So
thank
we can
you.
work together.
Pat, can you kind of tell the group, the public, what you did in your previous job?
Sure. My name is Patrick Cruz. I worked for the Texas Department of State Health Services for 30 years as a oyster inspector, biologist, taking water samples from Port Lavaca all the way down to South Padre Island. So it was a two-man office. I worked with that gentleman for 20 years. He's still working. Like I said, I've been an inspector, but also an educator for the people, all the oyster plants and crab picking plants and sea drift, educating them on the regulations and HACCP plans. And besides being a regulator, I was an educator. So I can work with people. You know, I used to go into some plants and just write a list of violations, but then at the end of the day, we're shaking hands and saying we have to work together, make this right. So that's what I did for the last 30 years. I'm here now. I'm glad to be here.
Mr. Cruz, I just want clarification on what you see as your target audience in Aransas County. I know you mentioned the high school and different things.
Right, the 4-Hers and the oyster industry.
Okay.
All the marine industry, along the coast.
So you'll be in contact with any marine related industry here, trying to help them be better at what they're doing.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Which I think would include sports fishing, is that?
Yes, that's a fact, and photography, all the 4-H photography club. I'm an amateur photographer myself, so.
I think the court in the past has been very interested in the oyster industry, obviously for the economy, but also like in the oyster reefs that we've participated in building in Little Bay and everything. Do you see that as a coming thing that we're going to do more and more of that sort of thing through A&M and through the federal programs? Because that seems to be very successful.
Yes, for sure. And also oyster farming is taking off right now, big time. So I helped the only place we have right now in Copano Bay. I helped him get off the ground with all the paperwork and then inspected him, Brad Lomax. So we have a good working relationship. And from what I can tell, there's some other applications and coming in for Copano Bay. What I read an article last Friday.
I know Palacios isn't in Aransas County, but are you familiar with the oyster farming that they are working on up there?
Not familiar with it. I haven't been there yet, but I plan to go.
Okay.
I'm thinking that Pat, you might be of assistance to us even on our stormwater program with your experience in water quality and stuff in the Bay. I would suggest maybe that you talk with David Reed, and he might be somebody that we'd like to have start coming to our meetings too.
I'm familiar with that too, because we had to drive around shorelines and investigate potential pollution sources for oyster growing areas. So I know a lot of the drainage sites, and I'm eager to get working on that too, if I can help.
We also have some folks now taking water samples and things from the bay due to the red beds that we're here in Sinton. I would suggest that you get a hold of them too and correlate with them, not only the quality of the water, but how the quality affects marine life, because that's something that's very, very important to us right now.
Yeah. And I was also familiar with red tide. I know that's an issue too. So we don't like that word, right?
No. Call the question.
If I may add a little bit, he's only been on the job for 2 weeks, and 1 week was at College Station, and he actually drank out of a hot fire hose for about a week over there because we provided him a lot of information on being a county extension agent. In most cases, when we hire county extension agents, they come into a role that has already been there for a long time. Pat's coming into a role that he's not had. We haven't had a county extension agent in marine science here for 20 years. So there's going to be a lot of groundwork. We're a grassroots organization, but the first thing I asked him to do is he's going to establish a committee, an advisory board per se, or advisory committee. And he would use those individuals of cross-section from the community, providing him information associated with the coastal marine resources. So he can actually look at those issues, just like the many of y'all have provided right now. That's what he's going to be in a fact-finding mission for a little while, meeting people, and then trying to develop his program plans. Then I'll assign another individual, a coworker of mine, to develop his program plans. And he'll have some program plans in adult education, any type of coastal issues associated with governmental associations, things like that. And then, of course, he'll have a youth plan as well. So that's how we'll kind of sort things out as well. He's learning a lot, and we're throwing a lot at him as well. But I do feel that with his skill set, he'll be very successful.
But would you have a separate advisory committee from the one that already exists?
Yes, ma'am. But they all should have separate advisory boards. That's a general one. The one we had, well, I guess it was in December that I attended. That's basically in general of everything associated, but each agent has their own advisory committee.
Okay.
Pat doesn't have one yet. He'll be working on that very shortly.
Well, we're excited about having him coming on board, and at least I am.
Well, we're excited too. I think there's a lot of good that will come from this. Thank you all.
Call the question.
Commissioner Cheney,
Aye.
Commissioner Casterline,
Aye.
Commissioner Russo,
Aye.
Commissioner Dupnick,
Aye.
Judge Garza.
Aye. Number 24.
Thank you all for your support.
Thank you.
I move to approve creating a new job description and position for a mechanic road crew, which will replace a current unfilled operator position.
Mr. Reed.
Need a second.
Second.
Okay. I would like to create a new position that is a combination mechanic and road crew position to give me some flexibility of putting the people I need where they need to be at that moment. The fleet maintenance budget is paid 70% by Road and Bridge. So this would be a position paid by Road and Bridge. Primarily, it would be a mechanic. We have one of our mechanics that is in the reserve that is anticipating being gone for 6 months. So this is partly to help fill that void while he's there, while he's serving. And it will continue to help them out to keep the Road and Bridge vehicles and equipment up and running. And then when they are slower in the shop, to put them out on the field working with the Road and Bridge. Any questions?
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Commissioner Cheney,
Aye.
Commissioner Casterline.
Aye.
Commissioner Russo,
Aye.
Commissioner Dupnick,
Aye.
Judge Garza.
Aye, unanimous. Item number 25.
I want to check with the Assistant County Attorney if this motion needs to be made or if it can be amended in its initial presentation.
Commissioner, it could be amended in its original presentation, but I do want to speak to the issue after you guys have made your motion on what you'd like to do about how it's worded.
All right,
If that's what the question is about.
then I would like to propose approving the payment of a stipend for the interim emergency management coordinator, Mike Gear, in the annual amount of $5,000. But the stipend would be $769.25 per pay period, in addition to a cell phone allowance of $34.62 per pay period, effective for the 90 days of his appointment, beginning on January 3rd, 2023, and ending on April 2nd, 2023.
Commissioner, I think you meant to say not an annual salary. It's just a 90-day stipend. And I believe you said annual.
Oh, you're correct. Sorry.
I'll second that.
Before we go forward, I'd like to explain why it's worded that way.
Okay, but what I'd like to say is an annual stipend of 20,000, because that's what we had determined.
But he's not been appointed for a year. He's only
Right.
been appointed for 90 days, which the prorated portion of is $5,000. So it's a $5,000 stipend for a 90-day interim appointment. The reason I worded it the way I did is because those 90 days fall over various pay periods, the way our calendar falls. Wanted to make sure that his payments are divided by payroll per pay period, but didn't want to have to do the math in case we got it slightly wrong in our wording in the motion. And that's probably a good thing, because Jackie handed me a note that said that it's $71.43 per day if we pay him the stipend through April the 3rd. So just to do the math, it ends up being $714.29 every 10 days per pay period. Excuse me, per pay period.
Well, I have an amended motion, and the 769.25 was the result of dividing what Judge Garza had initially proposed as an annual stipend of 20,000 by the 26 pay periods a year that the county has. And that's where I came up with the 769.25.
This is for a 90-day period. So this is for a 90-day period.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Have we had a second for that motion?
Yes.
There are
yes.
two different amounts, so like that has one amount and then.
Correct. So if you take your 20,000 for the annual stipend amount that we did initially set aside, and that does come to what Pat mentioned, the 769. I think you said.
25.
So if you take the $5,000 for the 90-day pay period divided into that amount, I think it's 7 pay periods, that takes it to the 714.
I think there's
29.
6 pay periods, aren't there?
I think it's 7. Yes.
So if you do the 5,000, it wouldn't matter how many papers. It's going to get paid.
Right.
So you have your two amounts. You're going to pay either the 714 or the 769. I don't know what you guys wanted to vote on.
I think the difference comes because if you look at the number of pay periods within the first quarter, there are fewer, there are 6, whereas other quarters within the year have 7 pay periods, and that's what throws it off. And that's why I was using an annual amount.
So technically in that first quarter, though, I understand what you're saying is 6, but if you take it through the term date of April 2nd is the ending of the pay period. That's
Right.
the first payday of April, which would be 7 pay periods.
I was hoping I'd never revisit the nightmare of paper.
Just as long as you don't get paid over 5,000 for the 90 days.
Well,
But
and you might want to think about amending the motion to put a not to exceed.
And we can make that happen.
Then I'll call the question.
Commissioner Cheney,
Aye.
Commissioner Casterline,
Aye.
Commissioner Russo,
Aye.
Commissioner Dupnick,
Aye.
Judge Garza.
Aye, unanimous. Item number 26.
Move to approve budget line item transfers.
I'll second that.
We have none at this time.
Commissioner Cheney,
Aye.
Commissioner Casterline,
Aye.
Commissioner Russo,
Aye.
Commissioner Dupnick,
Aye.
Judge Garza.
Aye, unanimous. Item number 27.
I move to approve accounts payable and payroll liability.
I'll second it.
Most of them are just normal. We do have a transfer from the tax notes of $1.1 million to cover the Teal invoice of $1 million plus. I'm not aware of any other big items to tell you, but if you have any questions, please let me know.
Commissioner Cheney,
Aye.
Commissioner Casterline,
Aye.
Commissioner Russo,
Aye.
Commissioner Dupnick,
Aye.
Judge Garza.
Aye. Unanimous. All right, this time we'll have reports from commissioners, elected officials, and department heads. No action will be taken. Nobody? All right. And now we'll have reports about items of community interest. No action will be taken.
I had an interesting thing come up. It's not the first time it's come up, but dealing with animal control, and this is by no means a report on animal control doing anything bad, but we need to look at the future on animal control, make sure that we have enough spots, enough locations for this growing community, and we are growing. So I just want us to keep all in mind that we are not a no-kill facility. We do have to destroy animals at times. We try hard not to do that, but the only way we can expand what we're having now is to expand our facilities. So that's something we need to think about in the future.
Dr. Mace, what item did you want to speak on?
He did.
He
Oh,
did.
did, okay.
The Parks and Wildlife Million.
Oh, that's right. Okay. All right. At this time, we'll be heading into closed session.
I move to consider convening into a closed session to consult with and receive advice from legal counsel about insurance matters related to Aransas County's projects and insurance claims from Hurricane Harvey pursuant to section 551.071 of the Texas Open Meetings Act, which authorizes closed sessions for a governmental body to consult with its attorneys regarding advice on legal matters pertaining to pending or contemplated litigation or a settlement offer, or on a matter in which the duty of the attorney to the governmental body under the Texas disciplinary rules of professional conduct of the State Bar of Texas clearly conflicts with the Open Meetings Act.
Second.
Call the question?
Commissioner Cheney,
Aye.
Commissioner Castleline.
Aye.
Commissioner Russo.
Aye.
Commissioner Nick.
Aye.
Judge Garza.
Aye. All right, we're going to take about a 5-minute recess. At this time, we'll convey back into open session. It is 11:28.
I move to reconvene into open session.
Second.
Commissioner Cheney,
Aye.
Commissioner Casterline,
Aye.
Commissioner Russo,
Aye.
Commissioner Dukenyak,
Aye.
Judge Garza.
Aye. Item number 30.
I move to approve continuing with the renewal of Aransas County property and casualty insurance policy with the Regional Pool Alliance for the year beginning March 1st, 2023 and ending on February 29, 2024, with the understanding that the proposed documents will be brought to the court beforehand.
Second.
Got a motion. We got a second. Any discussion? All right, call to question.
Commissioner Cheney,
Aye.
Commissioner Casterline,
Aye.
Commissioner Russo,
Aye.
Commissioner Dukenyak,
Aye.
Judge Garza.
Aye, unanimous. And that is all.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Commissioner Cheney,
Aye.
Commissioner Casterline,
Aye.
Commissioner Russo,
Aye.
Commissioner Dukenyak,
Aye.
Judge Garza.
Aye, we are adjourned. Right. Got lots of stuff to sign.
We have to say, or just you? Okay.